Welcome to Retirement Decoded with your host, Scott Tucker, where we break down the complexities of retirement planning to give you clear, actionable advice. Whether you're just starting out or getting ready to retire, Scott's here to help you make informed decisions and secure your financial future. Tune in each week as we simplify the process and decode the path to a stress-free retirement. Now, here's your host, Scott Tucker.
Welcome back to the Retirement Decoded podcast. I'm your host, Scott Tucker. My associate advisor, Andre Hootie, is at my side here. Say hello, Andre Hootie.
Hello, Andre Hootie.
Andre Hootie, we haven't given kind of a rundown of how this all works. We are financial planners in Chicago. And although we're based in Chicago, we have an office on the northwest side near O'Hare, near Park Ridge, if you're familiar with where Park Ridge, Illinois is, right near O'Hare. And Andre, though, we're federally licensed. We can help listeners all across the fruited plain, all throughout the United States.
Yeah, and if you are somewhere else in the United States, it's really easy to get to us. We're not too far from the airport.
Well, you don't need to fly here, Andre.
Well, no, they don't. But if they want to, our office is great.
Tell you what, but we're federally licensed, so we have clients in Texas and California, Florida, Michigan, Wisconsin, all over the place. So that's what I wanted to say about that. Andre, we want to talk a little bit today about a question we have from Mary. Mary writes the podcast. She says, Scott and Andre, I have a 403B account, all pre-tax, that is currently valued at just over $600,000. I'm going to break this into sub-questions, Andre, because this is one of those 6 questions in a paragraph, or some of them are statements, not questions.
Great. Yeah, it's easier when we break it down little by little.
So you get your questions answered and your answers questioned, right, Andre?
Exactly.
So Mary has a 403B account. So for those of you that maybe aren't familiar with what a 403B is, a 403B is like a 401k. A 403B is for a nonprofit. Sometimes Mary might be a teacher. She might be a nurse, who knows what. So Mary says, I have a 403B account. It's all pre-tax. Now, Andre, when she says it's all pre-tax, she means it's all traditional. None of it's Roth.
Exactly. Yep.
So there's, Mary says some portion of it, well, she says all of it's pre-tax. Oh boy. So, it's currently valued at just over $600,000. So Andre, she has an entire $600,000 in traditional 403B. So Andre said another way, right? There's $600,000 in her 403B. She's never paid federal income tax on that money. Exactly.
Yeah. She got to enjoy deductions and whatnot all her life, but those taxes are going to come knocking.
And we're expecting taxes to go dramatically higher in the future. So there's that to think about, Mary. I think she's already thinking about it. Mary says, I am 65 years of age and I'm within 2 years of retirement. So, Andre, I was told there wasn't going to be math, but she's 65 and she's going to retire at 67, just 2 years from now. Mm-hmm. And the 403B has fairly limited investment options. Now, that's true, isn't it, Andre? Most 403Bs maybe have about 20 mutual fund choices.
Yeah, just about. That's average what we see.
Sometimes they try to make it look sexier. They'll have target date funds.
Mm-hmm, which is just a mix of what they already had.
So let's take what you already have. Let's mix it up a little bit and make believe we have more funds for you. So a 403B, just like a 401k or a deferred comp plan, which is a 457B, or a TSP, which is a thrift savings plan. These employer plans, they start with a 401k, 403B, 457B, and which can also be known as deferred comp. And like I said, and then there's TSP, which is thrift savings plan for federal workers. They usually have maybe 20 mutual fund choices. And then, Andre, like I know you know this, so I'm kind of talking to myself here. The target date funds, all they are is you might say, well, I want to retire in the year 2030, the year 2035 or 2025, whatever year you pick. And as you get closer to your target date, they just shift you more out of stocks and more into bonds.
And that's, yeah, exactly. So that's how they work. But, I don't really like those because it's, when you're 60, that doesn't mean you have to be 100% in bonds. And so a lot of times that's what they're doing.
Or close to it, yeah. It's easy for the 403B plan rep or 401k plan rep and so on and so forth. Mary says, I can do an in-service distribution / rollover to an IRA. That's a bunch of words mixed together that may not mean what you think they mean or want it to mean. So Mary says, I can do an in-service distribution / rollover to an IRA anytime after age 59 and a half. So she just told us she's 65, right, Andre? Mm-hmm. And she says she's a smart cookie. She knows that, and maybe you're listening right now, you don't know, you may not know this. At age 59 and a half, even if you're still on the job, you can do an in-service, I would say direct transfer. I like to say direct transfer because I don't want the money to be made out to Bob Smith and then Bob cashes the check and doesn't realize it's taxable. And
that happens more than.
And there's a whole bunch of rules to rollovers where you get the money. Rollover really means that you got the check made up to Bob Smith. Bob Smith put it in his bank account, and then he has 60 days to get it back out of there into an IRA. Exactly. That's really not how we do stuff, is it, Andre?
No, and that's kind of a one-off deal if you need it, but that shouldn't be part of your plan. 60-day rollover.
It's something to plan to avoid, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
So we like to do a direct transfer where. Mary, you might have $600,000 in your traditional 403B, and we might want to have your 403B write a check directly to wherever you might open up your traditional IRA. That might be Schwab, Fidelity, who knows where. And then that check would be made payable to, let's say it's Schwab. Okay, just have to put some names on these things. So you have a 403B, Mary, and it's traditional. It's $600,000, and you get a direct transfer check, is what I'd like to call it. They send the check to you usually. It's usually not direct to, say, Schwab at IRA. But it's made payable to Schwab for a benefit of Mary Anonymous IRA, traditional IRA. So then we have to get that deposited into your, say, Schwab IRA. That's the way I'd like to do it. Keep it cleaner.
Yeah, it's way easier that way.
No taxable event and less confusion. I mean, it's confusing enough already. I'm confused just talking about it. So Mary says, I'm wondering if it makes sense to roll over... I don't like that term, right? Because we're not going to make the check out to Mary.
Right.
Let's say direct transfer. I'm wondering if it makes sense to direct transfer most, if not all, of what's currently in my traditional 403B to a traditional IRA that would offer more options, including exchange-traded funds. And Andre, we're big fans generally of once you get to 59.5 or you're no longer employed at that company, we do a direct transfer to an IRA that you own and control as the client. Mm-hmm. And then from there, yes, Mary, you're onto something. There are broader and potentially better investment choices when you're in an IRA. She says pros or cons. Pros to that, well, you can eliminate, there's plan fees, and some people think they pay no plan fees on their 403B, 401k, deferred comp, and all that. There's always fees.
Yeah, I mean, they don't work for free.
There's even a big insurance company that's on your side, and they have a famous football quarterback guy and a country music singer on their commercials. I watch quite a bit of football. So not a bad company, but that famous quarterback and that country music star, they're not volunteering their time on those commercials.
No, they are very expensive.
They're very expensive. As is the airtime. If you're on whatever Fox NFL or CBS or NBC or whatever, you're on those stations with the quarterback and the country music star. That commercial airtime is very expensive, not just the endorsement fee.
Yeah.
So we're here in Chicago. There's this company that's on your side, and they do the deferred comp for the city, for the county, for all those employees. And the statements look really great because they have a fixed account, and then it'll show no fees. But the fixed account might pay you 2% less than you can get on a U.S. Treasury.
Right.
So they're making money somehow.
Exactly.
And then they have to make some money. This isn't, longtime listeners will know that Andre comes to us from Ukraine, former Soviet Socialist Republic. Yet Andre's not a socialist.
Way before my time.
Nor a Soviet. Andre came here after, he came here at 3 years of age. He's a U.S. citizen now, and he came here after the Soviet Union fell apart. And you were born after the Soviet Union fell apart, for Pete's sake.
Yeah, I was. But my grandparents still remember it, so I get to hear stories all the time.
Well, your grandfather let's see if I get this right. Your grandfather on your mom's side was in one of Stalin's camps in in Siberia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, when he was his whole family. It was.
Jeez, oh Pete.
Yeah, scary stories. Kind of how they had to live, but
And then these are stories he tells you whenever you grip about how hard life is in Chicago as a Ukrainian immigrant,
exactly.
And now U.S. citizen. That company, they're not a nonprofit, nor should they be. That's what I was getting at.
Exactly.
And they perform a good service because they get all the firemen, cops. Every time I say fireman, somebody writes a podcast that says it's firefighter. Well, Andre, I'm just not that woke.
I guess
I'm going to say fireman, just for the heck of it. Send your hate mail. Every fireman I know says I'm a fireman. I have yet to meet a fireman that says I'm a firefighter.
Yeah, I've never.
And I know there are female employees of the Chicago Fire Department.
Yeah,
as one example.
Yeah, I've never heard of anybody refer to themselves as
a firefighter. It's too many syllables. In fact, I've wasted a whole bunch of syllables explaining why I don't say it.
Seriously, there goes 30 seconds right there.
So your employer plan, whether it's 401k, 403b, deferred comp, TSP, whatever it is, None of these are managed by nonprofits. There's a big outfit. I'll try not to step on myself and name it, but there's an outfit that a lot of the teachers and professors and that you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. A lot of learning institutions will say they have theirs managed by a company that has Alphabet Soup as their initials, right? And a lot of folks think, like, oh, that's like a nonprofit. It's not a nonprofit.
It is not. It is not.
Or some things are nonprofits in name and tax structure only, but not in reality.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they don't make a profit at the end of the year, but everybody made.
Well, the only thing you have to do is to be a nonprofit. All you have to do is spend everything you take in on employee and officer salaries and things.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's
not meaning any allegations. I'm just saying.
Right. It's You can get creative.
So anyhow, but Mary was asking about pros and cons about going from 403B to IRA. Pros: eliminating plan fees on your 403B because you are paying plan fees one way or another. The other thing,
well, another one I'd say is probably the biggest pro that people don't really think about is within the their 401k, 403b, you have the plan rep, and they're very limited as to what they can help you with.
Oh, they have a gag order.
Exactly, and so if let's say you do move that to an IRA, well, you can actually work with an independent advisor then on things like tax planning or a number of things that the 401k rep just really isn't allowed to talk to you about.
So when you go to the counter, I don't do this anymore, but you go to the counter at McDonald's. I don't even know if there's a person there anymore, if it's a robot or an iPad. But you go to say there's a person at the counter at McDonald's. Not really good food, not good for food and not good for you. But you go to the counter at McDonald's and you ask them for options other than what's on the McDonald's menu. You're told no.
Yeah,
please leave our restaurant.
Right. We just don't have that.
And so when you deal with your plan rep, the plan rep's job is to maximize the assets in the plan. That's what the company that runs the employer plan for your company, that they get paid based upon a percentage of assets, or somehow or another they get paid based on the size of the account. So their job is to get you to invest only in the plan, and really a conflict of interest, not to roll out of the plan when you turn 59 and a half, and not to get into any tax planning for retirement purposes. That might involve things like Roth conversions. You might withhold from your tax deferred account to pay the IRS that tax bill, and that might shrink the account, the size of the plan. So that doesn't help that plan rep or the company. Also, the plan rep is not there to talk to you about things like Medicare or other options so you can retire before 65, quit your job, and stop paying the plan. Yeah. Your plan rep is not there to help you with information on revocable living trusts, Medicaid asset protection trusts, pour-over wills. Your plan rep is not there to point out, I wish they were allowed to or could do more. They're not there to point out that if you leave your tax-deferred retirement account, like Mary, your traditional 403B, I don't know if you're married or if you have children or not, but let's say your plan rep's not going to point out that, hey, this $600,000 you never paid federal income tax on in your traditional 403B. If you died yesterday, today your son is getting it, and he has to pay federal income tax on it, and has to liquidate the account over the next 10 years, and you're going to push him in a higher bracket. Andre, you're not going to hear that from your plan rep, are you?
No, you're not, because all it is for them, right? It's a fee-based thing, right? It's a percentage base. So if the account's bigger, that company makes more, and that's really the bottom line when it comes down to it.
Just like you go to McDonald's, it's not their job to give you health tips and say, well, maybe you ought to go eat across the street at the salad store.
Right, or maybe run a lap before you have that burger. No, it's, hey, do you want 2 or 3 burgers?
Rarely do you go to McDonald's and say, hey, fatty, give me some laps. Go run around the store 4 times, and then I'll give you a Shamrock Shake.
Right. It's
It was like give me $2 or $3. I don't know what it costs. The only thing I'll go to McDonald's for, of course, is to sneak in and out of the restroom on a trip. Wash my hands, of course. The other thing though is decent coffee, and if you just need to stop in somewhere, get a coffee and go. And I'm caffeinated at home or at the office, whatever. But if you just are on a several hour trip, like a 5-hour drive or something, you get a couple hours into it, you're out of coffee. Just pull through the McDonald's, pretty good coffee. But I did that maybe a year ago, and it was something like, I think it was like $3 for a large black coffee. It was something crazy. Yeah, it was nuts.
That's like,
it was enough that I noticed. I was like, this is noticeably higher.
Really? That's really high. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, So pros, eliminate plan fees. Pros, get broader and potentially better investment choices. Cons, you could screw this up. Mary, you might just do this yourself and not screw it up. Here's one, Andre, that people sometimes want to do a double backflip when a single backflip's complicated enough. Mm-hmm. We sometimes get people that say, I retire and I get my $600,000 in my 403B and I want to do a Roth conversion to have it land in a Roth IRA all at once.
Yeah.
It's like a double inverted triple twist type of thing. You don't do everything all at once.
No, yeah. There's smarter ways to do that.
Break it into pieces.
Yep.
So you don't get confused and you don't mess this up. So Mary at 59.5 and service direct transfer from your traditional 403B to your traditional IRA. That sounds great. Not a taxable event. You might even be able to lower some costs doing that because you're going to eliminate plan fees on your 403B. Get broader and potentially better investment choices in the IRA. And then decisions you might make after that, like Roth conversions. Andre, Roth conversions, those are federally taxable.
Yeah.
And now for Illinois residents, and as I said, we're federally licensed, so we can help folks all over the country. But for our Illinois resident clients, Roth conversions are not currently taxed by the state of Illinois. So you might say that you save 4.95% there in our state income tax. Now, Andre, we have clients in Wisconsin. If they do a Roth conversion up there, yeah, it might still behoove them to do that. Might save some money on federal income taxes. Most likely they will over their lifetime, although we have to run your numbers if you're up in Wisconsin. But our Wisconsin resident clients, when they do a Roth conversion in Wisconsin, the state of Wisconsin is taxing Roth conversions as high as 7.65%.
Yeah, that's not cheap.
Plus, a Roth conversion is a federally taxable event on the conversion, but can have other tax ramifications. You might find a couple of years from now you might have a Medicare high income penalty. But again, it's Medicare high income penalties are not. I not think they're as scary as people think they are. Typically, kind of a rule of thumb we have. Now, your mileage may vary. $1 spent on Medicare high income penalties typically, in 1 year, may result in maybe 12 times that in lifetime federal income tax savings. We have to run your numbers to be exact on that. But we have a 5-year, easy for you to say, a proprietary 5-year tax planning process in our office at Scott Tucker Solutions Inc. in Chicago, and so you might see that you have a 5-year period where you pay Medicare high income penalties on your Medicare premiums. After that, those penalties fall off, and you may have a situation 5 years from now where you're then paying zero federal income tax the rest of your life. So usually, Andre, when we run these numbers for folks, we're usually saying, "Yep." We had folks the other day at the office, and we had a plan set up for them, and I forget how much money they had that we were trying. Maybe it was $1 million tax deferred. I forget what it was. And we figured that we could probably get their lifetime federal income taxes down about $500,000. But we're going to have to kind of rip the Band-Aid off a bit on some of this, but not all in 1 year, not in 6 years, kind of 5 years was a sweet spot for them. And we figured we got out our Medicare handout and that and crunched the numbers with them. We figured they might incur about $40,000 total over 5 years, $40,000 of Medicare high income penalties. But on the upside, it looked like we would be able to save them about $500,000 in federal income taxes over the lifetime. So if you could pay $40,000 to save $500,000, Andre, how many times do you want to do that deal?
Oh, I'll do it 10 times, 12 times.
They can only do it once. But it's something, I think, Medicare high income penalties, let's not let them get in the way of doing tax planning for our retirement purposes. And also, Mary, I don't know if you have kids or, you might leave the money, any unused money you might leave behind to kids and grandkids. Same thing. Under the Secure Act of 2019, they would have to liquidate those accounts, those traditional retirement accounts, over a 10-year period and pay federal income tax on it all, get bumped up in a higher tax bracket. And they also could get a little fat and lazy where they have 10 years of forced income. But at the end of 10 years by federal law, that traditional 403B or IRA has to be zeroed out. And so a better thing to do, Andre, might be with our tax planning process where you leave any unused money in Roth IRA. So, Mary, our aim would be to minimize your lifetime income taxes and also eliminate income taxes on any legacy you might leave behind to the kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, whatever. If you want to get on our phone calendar, Mary or anybody else, you can just go to tuckerretirement.com. At tuckerretirement.com, you can see our phone calendar. You can click and pick a time right there. And we'll spend 15 minutes for free with you over the telephone in the coming week, get your questions answered and your answers questioned. Well, this has been yet another episode of the Retirement Decoded podcast with Scott Tucker. I'm your host, Scott Tucker. Our associate advisor, Andre Hootie, has been joining us on today's episode, and we will see you on the next episode. Thanks so much.
Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc. has a strategic partnership with tax professionals and attorneys who can provide tax and/or legal advice. Neither the firm nor its agents or representatives may give tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a qualified professional for guidance before making any purchasing decisions. A Roth conversion is a taxable event and may have several tax-related consequences. Be sure to consult with a qualified tax advisor before making any decisions regarding your IRA. The views and opinions herein are those of Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc. and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of AE Wealth Management, LLC. Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AEWM and Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc. are not affiliated companies. Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc. Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc. is an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. AEWM does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc. are not subject to investment advisor requirements. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc. is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this podcast shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc.